Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to fly fishing, one of the first questions you'll have to think about is what exactly is a fly reel and how do I choose the right one. In today's video, I'm going to break down some fly reels and cover things like reel size, arbors, line ratings, spools, drag systems and even some gears. So hopefully by the end of this video you will have an idea of what you need when you're buying your first fly reel. If this sounds useful, stay tuned and we'll get into it. By design, fly reels are pretty straightforward, there's not really much to them. On the top of the reel you will find the seat, you'll find a handle, and maybe a drag on the back. When you strip line from it you will hear an audible feedback. And sometimes when you retrieve you'll hear the same click, sometimes you won't. Fly reels also come in a range of sizes, so they range from very small to large. As you can see, I've got sort of two ends of the spectrum here. I have a small reel on the right hand side for trout and a much larger one on the left for salmon. And again, these reels will depend on your end use. Another thing to think about is your arbor type, so you get small, mid and large arbor, and I'll explain now what each of them are. On the right hand side we have a small arbor reel, which is a more traditional looking fly reel and basically set up for smaller line setups. Now the line almost winds to the centre of the reel, which results in slower line retrieval and higher memory, but this does give you better balance on a smaller setup, so it does have its uses despite being a sort of more traditional design. Now we have a large arbor reel, which is almost the exact opposite. So because it has a wider spool, it gives you a faster line retrieval because it has a larger diameter, which results in less line memory, and which I'll explain in the next video. Large arbor reels are particularly useful if you're going to be fighting fish for a longer period of time on larger waters, and they are a little bit more modern, which I find to be quite useful. And you can see in here we've got some the sort of space that is left there that is kind of hollowed out, which gives you that larger diameter. This is also really useful because it does really help preserve the memory of your line and keep it nice and straight when you're casting and presenting it. Just having a quick look at the larger reel, you'll see it's pretty much made up the exact same way, except it's just on a much kind of larger scale, because this one is designed for salmon fishing. Now the next thing I'm going to mention, you'll have seen this if you've followed my other videos, however I'll mention it here just in case you haven't. You'll see on the reel there are some numbers printed, those are the line ratings, so you would need to match those numbers to the rod and to the line that you plan to use. This will allow you to have a balanced setup, which will give you more efficiency when you're trying to cast. These numbers are usually visible somewhere, either printed or stamped or on the packaging of your reel as well. They might not necessarily be on there, but they will be specified somewhere on the reel. Next we'll have a look at changing spools. Now you'll usually find on your reel somewhere near the centre there'll be a little clip that will allow you to remove the spool. This means you can have a backup line, for example. So you might have a sinking line, a floating line, or even an intermediate, and this allows you to make quick changes on the fly when you're out in the water, and they usually just snap into place, and then that allows you to get going again. I find this very effective because it saves you having to carry multiple reels, you can just carry multiple spools. And in some occasions you will find that the spool is unscrewed. It just depends on the manufacturer of the reel and the design, but they all kind of generally lead to the same outcome. One other type of spool system is where you have cartridges instead of a physical spool. So you'll see just now, I'll show you, I have removed the main part, and then you can see I've actually removed a cartridge which is much more compact and allows me to basically switch that line out. So you see now I'm putting an intermediate on, and you just line it up with the points on your reel, and it should just snap into place just like this, and then you can close your reel back up. Excuse my shaky hands here. And then it should just clip into place, and there we go. Now just having a look at these cartridges in a little bit more detail. Again, this will depend on the manufacturer of the reels. It will either be a fixed sort of spool or it will be cartridge system. Personally, I really like the cartridge system because they're much more compact and you can carry kind of more options around with you. And here you can see I've got a few different lines going and just one as a complete backup. Again, I find these really useful. Next we'll have a look at the drag systems that you'll find on reels. Now nowadays most reels will have a drag which allows you to increase or decrease the tension at which you strip the line from the reel at. So obviously the higher the tension, the more resistance you'll find, similar to a kind of fixed spool reel. And this gives you some good options when you're kind of playing or fighting a fish. Now, not all reels are made equal. This one's got quite good ergonomics. It has a kind of substantial kind of grip on it, and also you hear an audible click, plus there's a sort of plus minus sign so you know which direction you're going. This one, however, is silent, it's quite small, and you don't actually hear when you're tightening it. I find this one, you can quite easily accidentally tighten it when you're using it. Looking at the drag system on this reel, this one's really good. It's nice and big, sits in the middle of the reel, and you can quite easily just tighten it and untighten it. Even when it's on the rod, you get a really good sort of range of adjustment with this one. So lots of different systems. Here is a video, I don't know how well you can see this, but I'm tightening the drag at the back of this reel, and you can see how it kind of relates and what happens inside the reel when the drag's tightening. Again, apologies, this is quite tricky to film, so hopefully it kind of lets you see it and gives you an idea. Now inside the reel, you'll see I've got 4 different reels here, and they're all different inside. Now generally in terms of the engineering that's in here, they're pretty simple, just simple cogs and gears. Some kind of more so than others, but there's really not a lot to them. It's gears and bearings, and this is why fly reels are so reliable. There's generally not a lot there, which means not a lot goes wrong with them. When it comes to maintenance, I would suggest regular cleaning and also getting some kind of reel grease and just making sure that the pin in the middle is greased, the cogs are greased. Just make sure you don't get grease in the drag system. If you've made it this far, I'd like to thank you again for watching the video. Hopefully you found some information in here useful, especially if you're a beginner. Thanks to everyone who's been watching the videos, liking them, commenting on them. It's really good to know there's people out there watching them. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I will get back to you. And in the next video, I'm going to be covering all things lines. So that's your line, leaders, tippets, all of that stuff. So if that sounds something you're interested in, please be sure to like, subscribe, and you'll get notified when I next post. Take care, bye bye.